Captain, before we steady our thoughts on this guidance island, tell me, what does advice make you feel as it speaks of helpful suggestions, expert guidance, and warnings meant to protect you? Meaning 1. Helpful suggestions. Used when someone tells you what they think will help you. Example: she gave good advice before we crossed the bay. Common use: give advice, follow advice, helpful advice. Good advice. Meaning 2. Guidance from an expert. Used when a skilled person gives direction in a special field. Example: the navigator offered advice on reading the night stars. Common use: expert advice, medical advice, legal advice. Expert advice. Meaning 3. A warning or notice meant to protect. Used when someone tells you something so you stay safe. Example: we heard an advice to avoid the rocks near the reef. Common use: safety advice, travel advice, weather advice. Safety advice. Advice is uncountable in English. People usually say some advice or a piece of advice, not an advice. Keep your course wise, Captain. Carry advice for helpful guidance, expert recommendations, and safety first warnings as we sail to the next island. Captain, before we step onto this unexpected event island, tell me, what does accident make you feel when it means an unplanned harmful event, a traffic crash, and something that happens by chance rather than by intention? Meaning 1. An unexpected event causing harm or damage. Used when something goes wrong suddenly. Example: there was an accident near the harbor rocks. Common use: a serious accident, traffic accident, boat accident. Accident ahead. Meaning 2. An unplanned mistake. Used when someone does something wrong without meaning to. Example: she dropped the map by accident. Common use: by accident, small accident, a little accident. By accident. Meaning 3. Something that happens without intention or planning. Used when an event occurs naturally or coincidentally. Example: they met on the island by accident, not by plan. Common use: meet by accident, find something by accident, happen by accident. Happened by accident. Accident can mean harm, but it can also simply mean chance. English often contrasts by accident with on purpose. Stay alert and flexible, Captain. Carry accident for harmful incidents, traffic crashes, and chance moments that were never planned as we sail to the next island. Captain, before we step onto this victory island, tell me, what does achievement make you feel when it means a goal reached through effort, a notable success people recognize, and a badge-like milestone recorded as proof of progress? Meaning 1. Successfully completing a goal. Used when someone finishes something important after effort. Example: finishing the long sea route was a big achievement. Common use: great achievement, personal achievement, major achievement. Achievement. Meaning 2. Reaching a high level of skill or success. Used when someone becomes very good at something. Example: her navigation skills became a true achievement over time. Common use: academic achievement, artistic achievement, technical achievement. Skill achievement. Meaning 3. Recognition or reward for effort. Used when someone receives credit for what they've done. Example: the crew received an achievement for safe sailing all year. Common use: achievement award, achievement badge, achievement list. Achievement award. Achievement focuses on the result of effort. It often implies persistence, not luck, even when the outcome looks easy from the outside. Claim that win, Captain. Carry achievement for hard-earned goals, recognized success, and recorded milestones as we sail to the next island. Captain, before we step onto this standards island, tell me, what does acceptable make you feel when it means good enough to approve, allowed by rules or social norms, and tolerable even if it is not perfect? Meaning 1. Good enough to meet a basic standard. Used when something is not perfect but still fine. Example: the map's condition was acceptable for our journey. Common use: acceptable quality, acceptable level, acceptable answer. Acceptable quality. Meaning 2. Allowed by rules or guidelines. Used when something is permitted within limits. Example: it's acceptable to anchor near the reef only in calm weather. Common use: acceptable behavior, acceptable limit, acceptable use. Acceptable limit. Meaning 3. Socially proper or polite. Used when describing what society sees as suitable behavior. Example: it's not acceptable to shout orders at the crew without reason. Common use: acceptable manners, socially acceptable, acceptable conduct. Acceptable conduct. Acceptable is about thresholds. It often means not perfect, but within the standard, and the standard depends on context. Measure it against the standard, Captain. Carry acceptable for approval level quality, permitted choices and tolerable outcomes as we sail to the next island. Captain, before we step onto this boundary island, tell me, what does abuse make you feel when it means harming someone through cruel treatment, misusing power or trust, and using harsh, insulting language? Meaning 1. Harmful treatment toward a person or living being, used when someone is treated in a damaging or violent way. Example: the crew protected the injured bird from further abuse. Common use: physical abuse, emotional abuse, animal abuse. Stop abuse. Meaning 2. Using something in the wrong or harmful way. Used when tools, power, or resources are misused. Example: he abused the ship's supplies by wasting fresh water. Common use: abuse resources, abuse power, abuse authority. Resource abuse. Meaning 3. Unfair or cruel language. Used when someone speaks in a hurtful or insulting way. Example: shouting abuse at the crew helped no one. Common use: shout abuse, verbal abuse, cruel abuse. No verbal abuse. Abuse can be a verb and a noun. In formal contexts, it often appears in phrases like abuse of power and verbal abuse. Guard the standards, Captain. Carry abuse for harmful treatment, misuse of power, and words that cross the line as we sail to the next island.